Hello, and welcome to Unit 1, Video 2, the Columbian Exchange. Millions of years ago, the land masses of North and South America were connected to Eurasia and Africa. Over time, they drifted far apart, and an ocean filled the gap between them. The two hemispheres developed in isolation from each other, resulting in distinct plants and animals evolving in each half of the world. Farmers in the two hemispheres developed and planted different crops and raised different livestock, different types of animals. The European encounter with the Americas coincided with improved methods of sea travel and the desire to explore and conquer new lands. The combined impact was enormous. Places and people that were once isolated from one another became part of a global exchange network. The contact and trade between these far-flung places helped some people and harmed others. When Europeans crossed the Atlantic in 1492, they carried more than just their ideas. They also brought plants and animals. As they prepared to sail home, they packed new plants and animals they found in the Americas to introduce to the people of Europe. This period of biological mixing between the New World of the Americas and the Old World of Europe, Africa, and Asia is known as the Columbian Exchange, named after Christopher Columbus. This momentous swap of biological matter had major economic and social effects in the Americas, both good and bad. Some of the species the Europeans introduced to the Americas caused significant environmental changes. For example, the Spanish transported livestock, including cattle, horses, sheep, and goats, to the Americas. These animals' roaming and grazing habits altered native landscapes. Europeans also slashed and burned forests to clear land for farming. So let's take a look at some of the things that were traded through the Columbian Exchange.
So what kinds of things were exchanged as Europeans sailed farther? For one, European explorers looked for new plant specimens that might have agricultural and medical uses. They were also interested in animals, but plants were more important. Few animal species in the Americas had been domesticated. Americans did carefully manage things like ducks and vultures, but Europeans were amazed that Americans got anything done without cows and horses. On the flip side, edible plant diversity in the Americas matched, if not blew away, that of Eurasia. It was wondrous. Take us there, Thought Bubble. Can you imagine a world without corn, potatoes, tomatoes, bell peppers, chili peppers, beans, tobacco, pumpkins, chocolate, avocados, vanilla, peanuts, pecans, cashews? I can go on, but really, no hot sauce, no chocolate, no tacos, no tomato sauce? What did Eurasians eat before the Columbian Exchange? It doesn't even matter.
Along with new plant and animal life, Europeans introduced deadly new diseases to the Western Hemisphere. Because they had already encountered diseases such as smallpox, Europeans had developed an immunity, or a natural protection to those diseases. They could even carry the diseases without showing symptoms or appearing sick. Native Americans had not been exposed to European diseases, so they did not have immunity to them. Epidemics of smallpox, influenza, measles, and other diseases spread quickly after Europeans arrived in the Americas. Between 1519 and 1565, the native population of Central America fell from about 25 million to 2.5 million due to disease alone. Within 3 centuries of Columbus's landing, 300 years, about 90% of the Native American population had died of diseases. Not all of the consequences of the Columbian Exchange were so negative, however. The Great Transatlantic Swap introduced positive things to both sides. Europeans imported pigs, chickens, and other domesticated animals and brought horses with them, which Native Americans incorporated into their cultures. Europeans also introduced new crops to the Americas. Wheat, barley, rye, rice, and cotton were some of the plants introduced to the Western Hemisphere. Other crops included bananas, coffee beans, and sugarcane, all of which grew especially well in Central and South America. The Western Hemisphere also contributed an important medicine called quinine to Europe, Africa, and Asia. Europeans learned about quinine, which comes from the bark of a tree in South America in the 1600s. For about 300 years, it served as the only effective remedy for malaria, which is carried by mosquitoes. Quinine's use as a treatment for malaria benefited millions of people, but it allowed Europeans to later colonize malaria-ridden areas of the world. The Columbian Exchange affected the lives of people throughout the world. Some changes were positive, such as improved nutrition because of a greater variety of foods. However, the effect of the Columbian Exchange on native populations in the Americas was disastrous. So, just to review, the Columbian Exchange, this was a mixing of plants and animals and diseases coming from Europe to the Americas, but then sending it back from the Americas to Europe. This made Europe rich, but it was also disastrous to the native people who were living in the Americas who didn't have immunity to these diseases. About 90% of the native people who were living in these areas where the people came to Europe or came from Europe ended up dying. And again, in the areas where they came, the native population went from about 25 million to about 2.5 million. And we'll kind of keep exploring that as we go along in the future. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.